Would you ever let anyone know your darkest secrets? Your family, friends, or just someone off the street? Probably not, right? Depending on how close you are with your family and friends. What about something that would be purely objective and hold no subjective opinion about the subject matter? Well, this is what today's podcast is about. We're going to talk about the fundamentals of therapy and how it may be evolving into something more technological, particularly with AI. Like I did in the last episode, I'll begin by asking questions such as, what is it right now that AI can provide that maybe real therapists can't? Could people become too reliant on this new form of mental support? Will this possibly run the risk of therapists running out of clients? I'll try to answer all these questions as well as I possibly can, but first we'll start with defining some types of therapy, and how they are implemented nowadays. So, let's begin. Therapy is involved with talking to someone to uncover why they are feeling the way they are. It's not necessarily giving advice, it's talking to a therapist in a way a friend would, but with no biased pretense behind their questions and answers. There are three main types of therapy. There is CBT, CCT, and psychoanalytic, and I'll go through all of them briefly so you can have a basic understanding of what it means to go through therapy if you've never experienced it yourself. CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, is where the client is given a form of homework to complete. This may involve making the client aware of the importance of choice, like how someone may choose to think about a particular situation. Kind of like teaching someone to be a stoic. A therapist will, in a way, attempt to change their thought processes before they have even begun. So, if you were to have a negative thought about the way you look or the way you perceive the world, the therapist is going to attempt to change that way of thinking before you would even think of it. And then there's CCT, which is client-centered therapy. It's more holistic and more self-helping for the client. There's no judgment at all from the therapist, and it allows the client to grow positively by their own accord. They are allowed to develop themselves and allowed to, I suppose, make their own treatment. And then lastly, we have psychoanalytic therapy. The idea of using our unconscious desires to showcase why we think and do the things we do. For example, we may have codependency issues if we had a parent who wasn't there very often, as we are trying to replace that missing person unconsciously. All three of these techniques are all delivered by human therapists who can support the client without any biased notions. This allows the client themselves to uncover what's really happening in their mind and how they can change it. You may see where this is leading on to already, but I would say AI could fulfill this criteria already, and more so than a human therapist could ever do. It would have no underlying beliefs and no opinions about the person, which could impede the therapy session, as well as there'd be no stigma surrounding the therapy at all, because you could simply get your phone out, get your laptop out, and just talk to someone something that doesn't have any opinion. And we've already seen this through AI learning from human data and how to be empathetic, compassionate, and supportive, just like a therapist would need to be. And it may not be real compassion, but it's still there. You would still feel the positive impact of the treatment, even if the therapist doesn't feel at all. It's like a placebo. You might not have the actual thing given to you, but the result is still the same. You would still feel better after the therapy session. It's more about how the client feels rather than the AI. And it could actually be more useful for the AI to have no emotions, as it would have a more objective standpoint about a particular situation. I'm aware AI may not be at the same level as a therapist could be yet, in terms of how much compassion AI can show. But like I said in the last episode, there is no reason AI cannot get up to the point of replicating what therapists do now. It can already store information about us and talk to us like a friend would, sometimes even better than a person would. It can give advice, tell us fact, and be compassionate to some degree if we ask it to. Obviously, some people, probably most people, feel it's nice to know someone does actually care, even if the therapist doesn't say so. So that might be a reason this type of program using AI might not work. But can you imagine being able to fully divulge your whatever you want without any care that someone may judge you, or that person may tell someone else, or anything? Another added bonus is there would be no required payment. You could simply, like I said before, just get out your phone, get out your laptop, and just talk to whoever. This might make it more inclusive for everyone who maybe can't afford it at the time, or maybe they think that their issue isn't that big, so they just are able to just talk to an AI, resolve it quickly without going through the whole therapy process and seeing whether it's actually a severe case or not. One issue, though, that might arise is that the AI might not be able to deal with a crisis which is severe, particularly with suicidal ideations or self-harm. This is why it'd be better if the AI would be, in a way, a physical thing rather than just a chatbot. For example, maybe, in a way, a robot. Something you can actually talk to physically rather than just messaging over the phone. So, another positive that I would like to bring up is, I've mentioned before, the price and everything, but the waiting times would be reduced. The stress of getting a therapy session would be reduced, as you could do whatever. You wouldn't have to go through the entire process if you didn't want to. So, to conclude on this topic, I would like to ask the question, would you possibly take up this proposition, knowing that your pain would be hurt but not necessarily felt? Or would it be too similar to talking to your toaster? Well, I know this is a short one, but I thought it'd be a good thing to share, as I can imagine a lot of people have these types of thoughts as well. And I thank you for listening to this podcast, and I would love to hear some feedback on what you think of it, and if you want me to do different things, or stuff like that. So, thank you.